Hello and welcome everyone to the draft report for the Diamond Doubles Draft League Reg E. Just excited to tell you all about what we're doing. Wanted to give you guys a little bit of info before we just hop right into the team. So again, this is Reg E, so even though the tournament will be running through when the Indigo Disc comes out, regardless of how those impact the metagame and Reg F coming out, we're going to be sticking to the Reg E rule set. Other things, there are the Pokemon were put into tiers. S tier mons could not Terra. A tier mons you could use points to give them Terra Captain status, giving them 3 Terra types to choose from, one of them having to be of their own type, and then any Pokemon that was B tier or below had access to any Terra type. Just for some quick information, so that way we know where we're going from here. So let's just hop right into our draft. Just a quick heads up, I was the last pick in the draft, which I was very grateful for, and here we go. So with my back-to-back picks in this snake draft, I took Dragapult and Glimmora. Dragapult has a great speed tier, great roll versatility. It can do things like screens, it can run choice band, choice specs, it can spread status, it can do a lot of different things to help out your team, and its natural checks and counters are less available in draft format. Dragapult isn't necessarily Dragapult a strong Pokemon, but it isn't necessarily as prevalent in VGC currently because you have so many Booster Energy Flutter Mane and Iron Bundle and Chien Pao with Sucker Punch that threaten it so easily. But in a draft format where only one person is likely to have Chien Pao or Flutter Mane, or maybe one person has both of them, each week you're not going to be facing those mons as often, so being in such a great speed tier with Dragapult makes it a very strong first pick, and it's an S tier mon, so it has no Terra types. With my second pick, I went with what is probably my favorite competitive Pokemon from Scarlet and Violet, and that is Glimmora. I gave it the Terra type. I gave it Terra Captain status with Terra types Poison, Water, and Fairy to help it, obviously put itself into better positions. It gives great poison pressure, whether that's through Mortal Spin and Corrosion to even be able to poison other poison types, or go Toxic Debris and put Toxic Spikes on my opponent's field. It does a great job of putting that status pressure and residual damage in to my opponent. It forces specific preparation. Because of that, you have to make sure, okay, how can we take care of Glimmora without setting the spikes? Or do I need to do a Terra Poison in order to absorb the spikes? Or do I have a poison type already who can absorb those spikes? It just kind of makes it so that your opponent has to think about what they're doing with Glimmora and hopefully potentially overthink themselves. And last is unique typing. Rock Poison, I think, is... oh goodness, I think it's only shared with Nihilego, which is not currently in the game. I'm not sure if it's coming out in the Indigo Disc. And it's pre-evolution in Glimmet. So just an interesting Pokemon. They work well together. I can Mortal Spin and then use Hex from Dragapult to hit those poison bonds. So these were my first 2 picks, and then I waited a little while and got to pick 2 more. And with those next 2 picks, I picked Zapdos. Zapdos is a really strong special attacker. It's a reliable tailwind setter and good defensive type. There isn't a lot to say about Zapdos. It's not going to... most of its sets are not going to surprise my opponents, especially since it being S tier does not have any Terra types. It's not going to tear into something that's going to surprise them. But it's just very effective at getting Tailwind up. It's hard to OHKO, and it can put out strong hits. It can go offensive or defensive. Makes it really good. Knowing that I had Dragapult as my first pick, I went with Farigiraf as my next one here. Farigiraf provides priority protection, so again, being able to protect it from Sucker Punches, Ice Shards, things along Shadow Sneaks, things along those lines, felt valuable to add next to Dragapult. It's also support versus Trick Room, Imprison, or changing the Trick Room back on its own, and it acts as a budget in DDF, which was in S tier mon, and I was ready to take something that was maybe, again, working on a budget, not using all my points just to load up on S tier Pokemon. So we'll hop into our next ones. This is where we start to get a little bit. So we used 2 S mons, 2 A mons. We had to pick 2 B tier mons next, and I felt like I scored incredibly here. Getting Donphan and Frostmoth both have access to all Terra types. Donphan is physically strong, so we have Zapdos who's very specially oriented. Now we have Donphan very physically oriented. Built-in Focus Sash and Sturdy. It gets Knockoff, which can help with knocking off Covert Cloaks and things like that I might want to deal with. It gets good coverage. It gets Ice Spinner to hit things. Ice Shard in that Ice Priority. Just a really good mon, and with access to all Terra types can be really versatile. And next we decided to go with that Frostmoth, access to Quiver Dance. It can set up and sweep on its own. It's a unique support option, it's kind of a budget Volcarona. It does not get Rage Powder, but it kind of can act in a similar vein. Again, it's able to change its Terra type, so it can be really effective in matchups that maybe I need it to be, with its ability Ice Scales, which is essentially a built-in Assault Vest. I really am happy about Frostmoth here. The ability to use Struggle Bug to help against, Psy Spam. I could go Terra Dark even with that. Just options that maybe my opponents overlooked with this Pokemon. I think it's been genuinely overlooked. But again, being Ice and Bug, maybe it's reasonably so that in regular VGC, but I think that in this draft format, it's a great pickup for us. Alright, so our C tier pick, we had to at least get one C tier. I decided to go with Primeape. Primeape is a budget Annihilate. It gets Eviolite access, and it has option for Scarf Final Gambit. There's not much more to say about it. It's essentially Annihilate being S tier, would not be able to tear, but I can do interesting things with Primeape, who can really have high defenses even if its HP stat is very low. Just an interesting mon where I can try to kind of do those same things. The Bulk Up, Rage Fist, Drain Punch, Protect, very simple. But again, ability to go Scarf. There's not a lot to say about it, but I felt like it was a really good C tier pick. Then we are into our free picks. We could have stopped there, but we did still have points. We went with Serena, so more priority mitigation, but without having to lock ourselves into Fergraph if we ever wanted that. We kind of had both of those. Solid stat distribution, it's very bulky. Even though it's not fast, all the rest of its stats are really well-rounded. And again, it gets decent coverage, knockoff, play rough, can U-turn to regain momentum. It has drop kick to lower attack. Just a really solid mon for this spot. And with our last pick, number 144, we went with Garganacl. So I think that Garganacl is an incredibly strong Pokemon if people don't prepare for it properly. Again, it's immune to status. It's going to be hard to take down. It has bulk. It can recover. It has Salt Cure. It's going to wear down opponents. And it has setup options between Curse and Iron Defense. You can go Iron Defense Body Press, which is one of my personal favorites, but also the ability to use Curse. And I love Curse with it, not only to boost its attack and defense, but also being able to go Terra Ghost and then, cut its HP in half and put that on there. Maybe there's a mon that we can't deal with. It has a Covert Cloak. We couldn't get it off. We're in a bind against something. It seems like a great mon to be able to deal with options that maybe we didn't prep for, and so it's a great fail safe for the team in general. So again, really brief overview of what we drafted, but I wanted to give us a good look before the first battle comes out later today. And overall, this is what the team looks like at the time of drafting it. So, this is all subject to change. Perhaps a Pokemon gets dropped, another one gets picked up, Terra types can be changed on these A tier mons, Captain status can be changed, but this is where we ended up. So I'm looking forward to playing in this draft league and hopefully do well with it. I don't know if people look at this team and necessarily go, oh man, that's a really strong draft, but I feel confident in each pick that I have that they're going to help to push this team forward. So I hope you're looking forward to the matches, and I'll see you here in a bit in our week 1 match against Josh. Later.